Hello and welcome everybody to today's ISC2 Knowledge Vault webinar. Today we're bringing Iran back. He's the manager of the School of High Tech and Cybersecurity at Bar-Ilan University. He was on the program earlier, and as is often the case with these webcasts, we ran out of time well before we ran out of questions. So we've had him back. We've got a series of questions that were left over from the previous webinar, but don't let that dissuade you. As we go through the material today, please feel free to drop your questions into that area. We'll get to as many of those as we can throughout the conversation that we have today. Before I bring him on, though, just a quick video to cover off on all the housekeeping items, and we'll be right back in less than 60 seconds.
This is Knowledge Vault, bringing you cutting-edge cybersecurity discussions presented by ISC2 certified members and subject matter experts from around the globe. Here are a few housekeeping notes to keep in mind. If you have questions during the webinar, let us know in the chat box. Selected questions will be addressed during the question and answer session. CPE credits will be submitted for ISC2 members within 5 to 10 business days. If the presentation is freezing, please refresh your browser. Please rate the webinar. Let us know how we did. We'd love to hear your feedback and improve our webinars. Now, get ready for an ISC2 Knowledge Vault webinar.
Aaron, welcome back. Last time you talked a lot about kind of the employer perspective, and now we're going to be kind of flipping that around and talking about the other side of the equation. And let's go ahead and kick things off here. We'll start at kind of the entry level, and we'll work our way up more senior ranks. But I'll hand it over to you for a moment.
Yeah. So thank you. It's great to participate in this ISC2 webinar. We've been asked about career strategy. From my perspective, a career is really a strategy. It's not something that happens to you by incident, and to build yourself up in a professional manner of cybersecurity career strategy, you should really start from the beginning and climb up. We discussed in the previous webinar that first of all, to reach a point of professionalism, you should know several things that are really important to be a network defender. From my perspective, and of course my opinion only, everyone that wants to enter this field should be familiar with operating systems. We are talking about Windows. We are talking about, and of course, Windows working with Active Directory and domain infrastructure, understanding networking like layer 2, layer 3 devices, routing and switching, understanding virtualization, which of course will really help afterwards with entrance to the cloud. And of course, security devices, firewalls, and etc. We always have to understand how to combine all this orchestra together to let all this data pass through these security devices. So, from my perspective, this is really really important for every specific role, starting in the industry. So. If we are looking at this specific slide, we can see knowledge of Microsoft, of Linux. It can be Cisco routers because the CCNA certification of Cisco is really popular, but it can be Juniper networks or other networking devices as well. In my school, we teach Checkpoint and Fortinet as a security appliances, but it can be Palo Alto as well. And we also discussed about AWS Practitioner and AWS Solution Architect Associate, which are like the basic entering point to the cloud, and of course the Solution Architect, which is like a more advanced course. Now, it shouldn't be specifically AWS. It can be GCP of Google. It can be Azure of Microsoft, but the understanding is of cloud, and of course, cloud security is really, really important. And because, I'm really in favor of ISC2 and ISC2 certifications, I always think that entering the CC, the Certified in Cybersecurity certificate, is really like a really good basic understanding of what is information security. So we tend to talk about it before we enter firewall appliances or any other kind of security devices. So what we're trying to understand is how to combine all these things all together.
Yeah, and I think that last bullet point, building a lab on premise and in the cloud. One of my favorite interview questions is, tell me about your home network, right? Whether you have a lab or not, what decisions have you made, from a security perspective? What trade-offs have you had to make, and how do you operate and administer your own network? Well, this is a lot of different certifications. As you mentioned, it covers the basis for everything from networking to operating systems, cloud, security components. What are some of the job roles or job titles that people can look for?
Yeah. So I want to address what you said before regarding the lab. I can say that at first, when we built the first lab in the university, I bought Dell appliances, something like a couple of hundreds of thousands of dollars, with vSphere, with NSX, and we built everything on top. And when time flew, I moved all my infrastructure to the cloud. So everything right now is like more built on AWS infrastructure, because it's much more easier to manage. Regarding the questions that you asked, we got questions specifically, for this part of entering cybersecurity job roles. And the first one was, what would be the name of an early career cybersecurity role? And I think it's really an integrator, like an integrator, a network engineer, which is, my favorite, is someone, a network engineer or security engineer, is someone that has to understand TCP/IP, he has to understand on-prem, he has to understand the clouds, he has to understand the combination of many of them. And I really thought when I started, in bar-Ilan University, should I go to training SOC specialists and PT and go on red teaming, or should I go on defense? And specifically in Israel, as I see right now, most of the companies look for cyber defenders. They are looking for someone that will defend the network. And regarding job roles, it's much more, we have like much more job offers in this specific area. So I really go on a defense perspective. And I think that if you only go on a situation of SOC and so on, you'll have a limit, because you go on Splunk and QRadar, and you go on auditing, security events. But what will happen in the end? What will happen afterwards? And when you are going on an integration of devices, there will always come another device, another appliance, another security solution in the cloud. So like the future is limitless. And of course, when you go through this specific course, you can think of being maybe, in sales. You can also sell security devices, because if someone tries to sell me security solutions, I ask him security questions. And I want to know if he really understands what he's talking about, what he's trying to sell. Okay, it's really important. And he can be also a pre-sale engineer, the one that comes, the design solutions, and so on. Okay, and it still comes out of this specific course. It can also be a security auditor. So just think of it, of how many types of security professionals can come up of this specific course. because from my perspective, it's really like a foundation. In Israel, we train it for something like about 10 months. It's like twice a week. And I think that it's not only that you have to learn twice a week and something like about 10 hours overall a week, but you should also make your own lab, watch the recording once more, and exercise like for each hour in class, at least 1 hour at home, because I want to train you to build your own labs and to understand how to install, configure, and monitor all these devices.
And there's a lot of open source software as well that you can take advantage of. That's very, very inexpensive. Hardware can still run it. I've got a friend who actually runs a lot of his services on little tiny Raspberry Pi computers, which is great. He's got a whole lab that fits in his backpack. Are there any leanings in the industry towards a specific certifications, an order of operations, shall we say? Because the certified in cybersecurity is vendor agnostic, and I think it gives you a very good foundation. And then maybe layering on some of the product or vendor specific certifications. What do you think about that order, or would you change it in any way? How would you progress across this slide, perhaps?
This specific slide is, let's say, in our course, it goes in this specific order, and it means that we first talk about operating systems. So we have like Microsoft and Linux. We have like every one of them in a specific lab of VMware. VMware Workstation is now free for personal use, so it's great because in the past we were like a VMware certified academy, and now you don't have to be this way anymore, because everyone can use a VMware Workstation or VMware Fusion, for personal use. So you start with operating system, then you continue with networking, then you continue to security devices, and then you enhance to the cloud. And in the cloud, what we do, let's say in the architect course, we even do like a site-to-site VPN, checkpoint versus checkpoint, checkpoint versus Fortinet, and so on. So all the securities that we learn on-prem will continue in the cloud. And even if you have time, then we combine the on-prem to the cloud to see all the orchestra, playing together.
No, I think that's a great way to leverage the lab experience as well. The trick, though, is, as you move up into the IC2 certifications, they have varying levels of paid work experience. And we get a lot of questions about, how do I get that entry-level job? You talked about pre-sales engineer, for example. So I started out for a product company doing technical support for their customers until I was comfortable enough with the product. Then I moved over and helped the sales team myself. And that was, I was very young. It was my very first professional salary job. What are some of those roles, and how can people get that first bit of experience? Because internships are great, but so many of them are unpaid and don't count towards that qualification.
Yeah, but let's say even if you finish the course, okay, and you know everything, it means that you know it as a presentation to present in the course, but you don't really have a real life experience. You can go even to help desk positions. You can go and be like a system administrator of Windows and Linux. You shouldn't just start with security. My real fear, if you talk about risk management, is what happened to my student in 6 months after he finishes the course. Like 6 months, you still remember everything, but afterwards, all the knowledge, if you don't have like a real life experience, started to decline. Yeah. So you can go to help desk, you can go to sysadmin. It's fine, to be like a Windows or Linux sysadmin. You can be a pre-sale, you can be a network engineer if you have like a job role of networking, and if you have luck, if you really found a position in security, is really good. So we talked about sales, we talked about pre-sales. Let's say that even afterwards, let's say that you went to a position of system or networking or security, and you have something like about 3 years, but you understood that you are more like a people person than security devices. Like from my perspective, I really prefer people, than just configuring a firewall. And as I always tell to my students, no firewall ever told me thank you for installing a security policy. Okay, so you can even be like a product manager, to look at the things from above, to be like a product manager of security, to work with finance, to work with legal, to work with R&D, to work with UI UX. It doesn't mean that when you enter, you will always be a technical guy of security, but the 6 months after you finish the course, it's really important to have an hands-on experience. Because once you do it, everything's, integrates and everything is like more understood.
Well, we have a couple of folks, it appears, from the academic side asking questions. One's got a PhD in computer science and has been a lecturer for some time. What about the transition from academia? Does that happen very often? And if so, what's that process like?
Yeah, it can be done, but still, even if you come from academia, from the academic perspective, do you come like with management skills? Because if you come with management skills, then maybe instead of going, the hard way, maybe we can take you like for a management position in information security. Not, and I'm talking right now as a CISO, and we'll talk about it afterwards. But the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, is like a C-level executive that looks about the combination of security and the business, and he's starting to be like a security enabler. How can I say yes? Okay, under all the security circumstances and the conditions. So maybe we can take this academic, high-level academic management skills and combine it with a CISO. But if you don't have something specific like it, then there isn't really an option than taking you, from bottom to up. You can't skip like stages, because every HR that will look at your CV will tell you, I'm paying you like a real salary. I want to get real knowledge. What can you really give me the way that the day that you start your work here in our company?
There's a lot of management steps between a certified network defender, for example, and a CISO. And I think a great way to get that management experience is project management. Take the lead on projects, manage the team, even if they don't directly report to you in a traditional HR manner. It's a great way to gain the management experience around budgeting, deadlines, those types of things, because that is always going to be there. And that's a great segue as we start to move up the certification levels and also the job complexity. DevSecOps is a very popular approach now. I'm hearing about it more and more. Tell us about how these particular certifications in this process figures out, because this is more of an engineering role. This is hands-on, some design, maybe even some software development.
Yeah, of course. When we're looking about DevOps, it's always an advanced course. It's never an entry level. DevOps, you can come from IT, you can come from QA with knowledge of automation, let's say. You can come from development. Let's say that we have like a BSc or people that finished computer science and so on, and they want to start from something. So this can be really, really nice. And in the DevOps, and let's say in our course, and we take it for something like about 10 months. This is my design. I really started with a real good understanding of Linux, and we divided between Linux administration and Linux scripting. Okay, you should know Linux because many of the automations can be done with Linux, and you should know Python programming, and of course we can combine it with the libraries that are related to DevOps technologies. So this, from my perspective, is really the basics of entering the DevSecOps role, because by the end, a DevOps is like an integration of like the lower levels and the higher levels of the OSI models. Okay, it's taking information of IT, it's taking information of development. It's like being the bridge between them. Okay, and then we start to enroll it into automation, and to make it more complex, then we enter it to the cloud, of course, and then we enter it with security, because it's really important not only to make the automation, but to do it securely, so it to minimize the risk that someone hacked your pipelines, okay, and broke down your automation. So once we finish it, from my perspective, it's really important to know secure development, not only to develop, because we trained you how to be a developer, but to know how to do it securely. And I can really say that I really like the CSSLP course of ISC, because it's like vendor neutral. It's not specifically how do I do secure coding of .NET or Java or Python or Node.js or any other coding platform. It's like giving you the understanding how to develop securely, because if you finished your development and you don't do it like in a secure manner, it's not like a security by design, okay, or code security by design, you can't secure it afterwards, okay, because you have to think about security even if you write the first parameters, okay, of your code. It should be inside your head, okay? So it's really important not only to understand security, but get the ISC concepts of how to securely develop your code. And only then we can enter DevOps technologies. And we are talking about Dockers, we're talking about containers, we're talking about Kubernetes, Grafana, Terraform, Jenkins, all the CI/CD pipelines and the automations. And once you know how to do it and you know how to present your own projects, like let's say in my school, I don't really it doesn't really interest me if you get like a 70 or 80 as a score of a course. Really, I want you to stand in class in person and to present all this work that you did, okay, to the trainers and the students in class. And afterwards, you can combine it to your LinkedIn profile and your GitHub to show any other employer, okay, what you are capable to do. Because if we look at a specific project, then I can tell you, okay, you know what, you interest me, I'll give you a challenge, and if you'll accept this challenge, and this challenge will be okay, then we'll have our interview, okay? So it's really...
I've seen a lot of people using GitHub exactly like that. It becomes almost your portfolio of your past work, and making those repositories public is a great way to showcase that. And I want to talk a little bit also on the application development side, a couple of key points. When I started a long time ago, you can see the gray, you had kind of two paths. You either went to be a developer or you went to be kind of traditional IT, handling servers, workstations, and networks. But now, especially in the cloud, with technologies like Terraform and PowerShell, you're writing code to deploy the infrastructure. And so this is also a great way for getting into the field, is through testing, right? Code testers, You can be network testing, penetration testing, audit even. You could become like a PCI DSS auditor, for example. What are your thoughts on those two types of job families under this particular kind of development angle?
Yeah, you're right. We can see people afterwards that go to the concept of PT because they want to move to the dark side, okay, and understand how to attack, from another angle. I can see people that afterwards trying to go to forensics or IR or even project management. You can go a lot because you understand IT, you understand code. It's like you have all the picture except management, okay? But you can see everything, and then you can really see that information security is something like about more than 50 types of job roles. So let's say that if I enter let's say an ice cream store, okay? I don't know which taste, okay, will I really love best, but I'm trying many types, okay? And then I see what I'm more related to, and that's the same thing. You looked at the IT infrastructure. You now look at the code. You even have cloud, okay, inside, and it's really important, okay? And afterwards, you can really decide what's more related to you. Right now, we also included AWS practitioner. You can take it to solution architect, and it's really, really important. We also inserted the ISC2 CCSP, which is, again, like a vendor neutral concept of how do I secure a cloud. It's not specifically securing AWS, GCP, or Azure, but a concept of what do I have to do as a security professional, okay, to secure cloud infrastructure. And afterwards, I can also be like in a security position of cloud security, okay? So it's like another job role that I can enter it afterwards, okay?
Yeah. And we've had some questions about people that maybe have development experience, but not necessarily security experience. Maybe they've sat and passed the CC certification. We're still, that's a new certification. We're not seeing it necessarily in job postings to the level of some of the other entry-level certifications that are out there. But what are some thoughts on, if you've got some basic IT experience, maybe you have the CC, making that next step?
Yes, so if they have like code experience and they are really interested in code, I think that going to the security, the secure development, going to ISC2 CSSLP course would be great, because it will give you the understanding not only how to develop, but how to develop securely. And then you just jump to the next level of using your code, but do it in a secure manner.
And if you're already a developer working somewhere, there's no reason why you can't get the certification and become an advocate for security. Help them with their testing, point out opportunities to improve the pipelines, the processes, and the code itself, which I think is a great way to move up. Are there specific job titles at this next level? You've got your CC, maybe you've changed careers, like I said, maybe you've got some past IT experience. If you're currently in IT, I think just being a security advocate will help get you that experience. But what are some job titles? We've had a couple of questions around what should I be looking for? And one of the things I say is find people that are further along in their careers on LinkedIn and look backwards. How did they get their start? But what are some roles that we see? What'd you say?
I said reverse engineering. What we usually do when I try to market, okay, a new course, like let's say product management, what do? I go to LinkedIn. I look at something like about 10,000 people that are product managers, okay? And then I do a reverse engineering to see what they went through to be a product manager, okay? So it's the same thing, when you're looking about security. Take a specific job role, look about, the way that the people went through, and you will know this is the way that should be more of the same for you as well.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, reverse engineering. And I want to remind people over in the attachments and links section, we have both Aaron and I's LinkedIn profiles. So if you'd like to reverse engineer our careers, that's a great opportunity. I appreciate the insights. What about people that are changing jobs? We have people transitioning, for example, out of the military, coming in with they've got maybe leadership and management skills from that. There are other, shall we say, soft skills or other skills around this. It's a very multidisciplined field. What are some other areas that companies are looking for to have on your resume besides the certification and technical capabilities?
Yeah, when you're talking specifically about people that come from the military or security forces, in most of the situations, because they've done a great step in life, and in many situations they are not so young, okay? In my perspective, it's to take them to the next level, which means to the next slide, and start with management. How to manage people, how to work in stress. Let's take you to a management position. So we start in here, okay? The CISO and the DPO, it's like a combined course, but it's typically two kinds of C-level executives that really work together, and the understanding of the language and terminology of each one of them is really, really important. If I'm a CISO, I can be a DPO. If I'm a DPO, I can be a CISO. But I really have to communicate to communicate in a right manner with my partner inside the company. So who can really be a CISO? If you come from the defense forces, if you come from the military, if you come even from embassies, security personnel, really like the CISO role, because it's like understanding risks that you are familiar with, when we're talking about physical security, okay? And it's understanding layers of security, the same thing that we do with network security, okay? So we have many terminologies that are that can be understood by people that come from physical security. And what we usually do in our course, we have a big WhatsApp group of everyone, okay? And we have a small WhatsApp group of people that only come from the security forces, so they can ask questions and don't feel, that they're asking stupid questions. So they can feel comfortable to ask us questions, and we relate physical security to information security. Okay, and they really understand the connection. So people from the military or security forces or even police, okay, they can really come, or intelligence, okay, they can really come to this specific course. You would also find all these network engineers, all these DevSecOps engineers, all these people, IR, forensics, that I really like, technical people that in a specific phase of their career, they decided they don't want to implement security solution anymore, but they want to combine security with a business. They want to look at the things from the top, okay? We are talking about security budget, we are talking about managing people, okay? As we said, you should be a security enabler and connect the security to the business. So what we do, we always start, and it's very important, another audience that we started with, and it's really growing up, is lawyers.
Ah,
Yeah, and you talk about lawyers. What's the relation between lawyers? People that
especially around privacy and the regulations, which brings me
course.
to the next question, because I've also seen accountants make that jump too, because they're used to auditing. And that brings us into kind of the governance, risk, and compliance side. There's lots of roles available there. And I think it's a great way to get that blend of the business side, the audit side, and the technical. What are your thoughts about people entering that? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be as deeply technical in many cases.
Yeah. So, in the course, we are talking about many patterns or templates of CISOs, okay? And not all the CISOs have to be a deep tech CISO. A deep tech CISO is a CISO profile that came from bottom to up, okay, and did all the way, and is like really familiar with all the technical terms and the terminology. But Brandon, I don't know if all the people that come from configuring firewalls and security devices, if they are really business oriented, if they really know how to talk with directors and management, okay, because it's skills. Maybe you are really good with configuration, but you're not really good of combining and creating security policies for your organization. Okay, and in this specific type, I've seen many lawyers, and you are talking about accountants and people that I like really know how to work with management, come, from a side to the CISO role. They understand the business. They are really good in business. They are really good in people, but they don't understand security. And in this specific course, I had like many people, like, let's say, lawyers that we just talked about, that I was sure that once they finish the course and they really had their terminology sharpened with the CISOs in the course, because they're learning it together, then they will be DPOs. And when the course ended, they said, you know what? Like, the Israeli law is really, it's really far right now from GDPR and CCPA. And this is why we want to take the job role of a CISO or a CISO as a service. So they start as a CISO, okay? And afterwards, they can, if they like, okay, because it's like another expertise, go from up to down. And it means when they entered a CISO as a service role, they can start learning the technical terms because they work with technical people and they fill the gap, okay, of understanding, okay? You are talking about doing a security implementation in Azure, but can you please tell me what is Active Directory? This is a question that I heard last week, and I said, wow, like, don't ask these questions because, they have like a gap of knowledge. But in the end, I think that this role can really take people from technology, from security forces, from legal, and enter in a really exciting management role of information.
Yeah, and I think even business operations roles, business analysts, because you understand the business. So if you start to explore the cybersecurity side, it makes that connection between the two easier. And you talked about the deep technical CISO. That was the route that I took. And the further up management you go, it feels like the less hands-on technical you become. And I've kind of gone back, and now in my spare time, I've started picking up on some of the newer technologies. You talked about Docker and containerization and things of that nature. And it's a lot easier to learn that stuff when you're younger, I'll say, at least from my perspective. What are some tips for people that maybe have a little bit of experience? We've had people that, they've got their 5 years of experience. They've sat maybe for the CISSP. Should they still be looking to maybe go starting into a management path or still being individual contributors? What are some ways that they can move to the mid-level?
I think, that it's really, really personal. By the end, I think that everyone is good in something, okay? In which position that I place you, you will really shine, okay? If you're really a technical guy, continue to be the technical guy. You can still, and we have like another slide about the security architect, and I'll talk about it afterwards, but you can continue to be technical because this is what you like to do. And if you like management, go to the management, but it's really so personal, okay? And in my perspective, when people usually send me these questions, I say, you know what? And they ask me like via WhatsApp, so they look it like for a quick reply. I always send them my Calendly invite, and I tell them, okay, talk to me for 15 minutes. Tell me what you really like to do, and we'll look, how to find the next step for you, because not everyone has to be managers. But
Right.
if we are looking about ISC2 certifications, I think that there are two certifications in this step that are really, really important. The CC, if you come from technical skills, so you already learned it. But if you don't come from the technical and you come from legal and accountants and so on, it's really important for you to understand what is information security. If you come from the security forces, it's really important for you to understand what is information security, because you deal with physical security and not with information security in your background, okay? And of course, I think that one of the greatest certification that in some countries is even equivalent to second degree is a CISSP certification. Because if you put the CISSP certification in your LinkedIn profile, I know that you are a security professional. It's not that you just finished a specific course, but you have all the skills to understand how to combine security with a business. It's technical, it's management, it's like a big overview of information security, and ISC2 wants to see how you think security in their manner. And it means that even if you are used to doing several things in your organization, it doesn't mean that you do it correctly, and it doesn't mean that you do it the international ISC2 way. Okay, so you have to be aligned with the ISC concepts and the roadmap of information security. So this is one of my favorites, I think, international certifications that every security professional, it can be technical, it can be management, it can be even from the DevOps side, but when you put a stamp of CISSP, it means that you are a security professional, no doubt, and it's not because a specific university or college said that you are, but ISC2 said it, so, and it's, again, it's
recognized.
It's recognized. And we are not talking here about a specific type of routers and firewalls and cloud providers. It's natural, and this is what I like about it.
Yeah, and you made the comment that not everybody needs to go to management. In many companies, I've seen there's a individual contributor track that is technical, and then there's management. And if you think managing technology is hard, managing people is even harder because they're very unpredictable. But that's all great advice. We've only got about 15 minutes left. I want to make sure we cover off on the architecture role, because this kind of takes you into that possibly individual contributor, but you can also go management of security architects in this way. And I want to touch on something that a audience member has said. They're 37-year-old software developer, been doing development their whole career. Is it too late? At 37, not even close to too late. I got a lot of years on you, and you've got plenty of time. So let's talk about perhaps even somebody with that kind of experience. An architecture role is a great way to, again, bring that bigger security picture. Talk through a little bit about what kind of students that you have, and then what kind of job roles that they're aligning to.
Yeah, the security architect, I think it's one of the really interesting part of job roles in information security. Security architect should come with two specific knowledge types. You should understand technology, really come and understand, and you come from security background, technology background, you understand security, you build infrastructures, you know how to do it good, and you also completed the CISO course, which means that you are also methodological. You understand the business, you understand infrastructure, security, and now you are like in a step that you are under the CISO. You're not the CISO, you're not managing everything, but you get many questions about security designs, about privacy designs. You have to understand what is like what blocks the organization from expanding, and you are like a problem solver. Okay, you have a problem of let's say a standard, a privacy issue, a security concern. You have a problem, and you have to think, okay, how do I help the organization to solve this problem? Okay, because now in security, we can never say no. Nobody pays us salary to say how not, okay? And this is like, you know, a problem that I usually get from these security officers that come to the CISO course, okay? And they say, no, it's wrong in the military and I can't accept it. And I say, okay, I understand. You are like a lieutenant. You are used to giving like commands, but when you go, you know, to being a civil, then you have to understand how you can say yes. And in the security architecture, you're always thinking about how do I permit traffic to pass, money to enter, how do I do this special combination? And this is really interesting. And in the way that I built this architecture course, first of all, and it's really important, I took the ISSAP, the security architecture course of ISC2. I think that this is, it should be like one of the last ISC2 certificates that you do, because you have to pass all the way and understand. You have to come with CISSP, you have to come with CC, you have to pass and understand everything before, and then you understand how ISC2 on-prem and cloud look about security architecture. And then what I did, I combined it with Cert Nexus Lab, because I really liked them, like step by step to learn about situations and how do I really combine it to give real nice infrastructures, you know, for problem solving for my company. But it's, as I wrote, you know, in the last line, it should be a combination between management and technology.
And oftentimes you're in the design phase. We hear privacy by design, secure by design. You're taking a business problem and finding a solution for it. You've got a couple of job titles here, but what are some other job roles, especially if people want to be an individual contributor, that they'd want to explore here?
Let's say you can be a security consultant, okay? You can be inside a company, you can give it as a service to other companies, okay? And look at their problem, look at their barriers, okay? And give solutions. So it can be great. Let's say, so we're talking about consulting. We can look about GRC, Okay, you have like you are a GRC consultant. You're looking about compliance, about risk management. It really interests you. Okay, and you combine it with businesses. And again, you can do it full time, and you can do it as a freelance. And I can really say, you know, when I just thought about your previous questions, you don't have a problem of age in this specific role, because you will never find people that are like 22 in this job role. All my students, all my students are like 40, 50. They had like such a way, you know, in life that everything that they do builds them to this towards this specific job role. So
it's not just the experience, it's the wisdom. It's sometimes 30
Yeah.
years of making mistakes, perhaps, as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes left, and what I want to do is I want to stop with kind of the specific roles, if we could. Let's get into some of the other aspects. People have talked about showcasing their experience, right? We talked about GitHub as kind of a portfolio, almost like you were a graphic artist, if you will, of code. What are some other ways that you've seen people be successful in tailoring their resume to show their experience? Maybe if they don't have a lot of experience, how can they translate some of that into something that's more specific for a security role that they may be trying for?
The thing is that, when we are looking about your CV, and of course afterwards, when we are looking about your LinkedIn profile, it's really a career storytelling. You are telling a story. You're letting everyone know what is the past that you went through. Okay, so you really take all the things that are not really important, you put it aside, okay, and you try to connect everything that you did either to management or information security, even if you went to system or networking or code, but take everything and try to combine it to information security. Try to explain how everything that you did was something of design, of lowering the risk of your organization. And you can take, let's say, virtual environments that you created or code that you wrote and upload it to your GitHub and just try to explain what you did, what kind of use cases, of case studies, okay, you really have in your portfolio. And this will be really beneficial for everyone that looks at your CV. I had like an HR professional that told me, you know, Ran, I have like so many people that I want to place in inside companies, and I give each one of them, each type of CV or LinkedIn profile, 7.5 seconds to examine and see if it fits. So in 7.5 seconds, everything should be like so aligned, you know, regarding career strategy. So everyone that looks at it, okay, will understand what you went through. So it's really, really important. And I always tell it to my students, when you write a CV and when you edit your LinkedIn profile, always put a summary, because not everyone looks at what you've written. And you just have to enter what you did in the past and what you want to enter right now, so they understand the story. Because you have like a 7.5 seconds of persuasion for someone to reach out for you, okay, and ask you to be a candidate for a specific job role.
Yeah, and I've seen GitHub not only used for developers and security professionals, but I've seen people use it as a repository, not just for code, but for other resources, and put a link to your GitHub profile in your LinkedIn profile, and people can see where your interests are. I've seen things that are just lists of great tools that are categorized. You know, here's some fantastic open source technologies, or here's a list of books, or
Yeah.
they're using it almost like a personal web page. If you want to go back to the early days in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Everybody had their own web page. So I think that that's a great way. Plus, you learn a lot in source code management and version control, even if you're not a developer. It's a great way to move into that space. What are some other thoughts for people that are looking for a job at any level? I find networking, getting to know people, the ISC2 chapter meetings are a great way. I was working in another city. I had a team in 2 cities, and I would go to the chapter meetings in both. And one of the leaders in the other city said, every time they opened a meeting, they said, raise your hand if you're looking for work, and then they put them down, raise your hand if you're hiring. And they would spend 10 or 15 minutes at the end connecting people. That's a great tip. What other ideas do you have for people to try to land a job at any of these levels?
Yeah, so I can say 2 things, and it's really important. First thing, regarding the ISC2 chapters, when we got a filial, the first recognition of ISC2 certified academy, then I went to the Israeli chapter. I took something like about 10 stars, of people that are really leading information security in this specific chapters that can also teach courses, okay? And I turned them into official trainers. Why? Because when they are in class, they are not only providing knowledge and mentoring the next generation of security professionals, but they're always telling them, come to the chapters, and in the chapter we have like mentoring programs, and you'll understand and you'll see all the networking, and it will really help you to boost up in information security. So I really like it. This like the first one, and it works great in my university. I even took, the first one that I took was the president of the Israeli chapter of ISC2, and I told him, you have to come and train in my university, because I know that if the president came and trained, then everyone will follow afterwards, and it was great. And the second thing that I think that it's really important, and everyone that wants to enter information security should do, is leverage LinkedIn. And it means when you open a profile in LinkedIn, the first thing that you have to do is to connect, even if you don't know people, connect not only to the ISC2 chapter of inside your country, but connect to 1,000 security professionals in your country. Why? Because LinkedIn is an algorithm. And if I have 1,000 friends that are security professional, what does it tell about me? It says that I'm a security professional as well, right? Like, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are, okay? And this is really important, because I started to see in many of my courses, even if in a really early stage, that people that were connected to this security professional, even though they just started the course, they started to get invitations from HR regarding their job positions, and if they want to accept it, to enter the company, and it was amazing. So leverage LinkedIn. There are like many security groups that you can always learn, and even if you are in a course and you learn something, try to have posts. You should have something like about a post in LinkedIn, 1 to at least 2 weeks, just to show that you are really related to this specific industry. And it doesn't take you anything, just time. But by the end, it's really worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And for those that are looking to connect with people on LinkedIn, I highly recommend you follow them first if you don't know them. But that way you'll get their thoughts, what they write in your feed. And it's a great way to learn. Well, Aaron, thanks for coming back on and deep diving into this. I really appreciate it. We've had some very positive comments come through the Q&A section as well. And folks, if you missed the first session, we have that recording up over in our links and attachments area, along with our profiles, so you can follow us. Thanks again, Aaron. Take care and be well.
Thank you very much, Brendan. See you. Bye-bye.